Hello and welcome to the Gilshrat channel. My name's JB and welcome to my second advanced tutorial for SCARM. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to construct buildings, and I'm going to break this tutorial up into two parts. The first part I'm going to show you all the basics for creating a simple house, and then in the second part I will explain how to build some more complex buildings, such as a water tower and a simple train depot. Before we get started, I would like to show you the blog for SCARM. If you go here, it's at scarminfo/blog/tag/HO. At least that's how I got it. You can just Google it. And you click on documentation. If you scroll about halfway down, and there's some great information in here and some other tips on how you can build stuff, such as helixes. And we go down to about here, and there is an article that explains how to construct buildings. So this is going to go step by step, and it does leave a couple things out, which I'm going to go over in the tutorial. But if you are a visual learner, this tutorial will hopefully help you understand things a little bit better if going through this didn't make sense. Probably the most important thing though here is they do have this table which explains what your dimensions would be depending on what scale you're building your layout. So this is a really good table that's useful to have while constructing buildings if you want to make them super accurate to scale. Alright, I'm going to go into SCARM, and if you haven't had a chance, I would highly recommend you take a look at Ruud Boer's tutorials. He explains how to lay track, and also take a look at my first tutorial, which shows you how to set up the perimeters of your layout or baseboard. It's the blue line here. You'll want to know how to do those things to create this simple layout that you see here on your screen that I'm starting out with. To construct buildings, the first thing you're going to need to do is select the figures from the library. So you go over here to the top corner, this little down arrow. This lets you see the different libraries you have. So if you click this down arrow here, which I already have, you'll see that I'm at the very bottom of the list. And at the very bottom is the figures choice. So click on figures. And now you have several different shapes that you can select and put on your layout. The rectangle, polygon, circle, horizontal cylinder, and the roof. In the first part of my tutorial, I'm only going to focus on the rectangle and the roof. In the second part, I will show you how to make things using cylinder and horizontal. And then the polygon is really good for creating terrain, which I will show in a later tutorial. So to get started, just simply click on the shape you want to produce. So we're going to start with a rectangle. And unfortunately, unlike the baseboard, you cannot input exact dimensions. You have to take a look at these little red arrows that show up that kind of pinpoint your location on the ruler or the XY coordinate system. And you'll also notice that in my tutorial I'm using inches. You can convert this over to millimeters by going up to Tools, Settings, and then Dimensions, and right there you can go to millimeters. And I'm going to leave it in inches. So to begin, click there. So left click on your board, then drag, and make it about, it's about 2 inches wide. There we go. When you release the left mouse button, this properties window will show up. And this is a very important window to know how to use. There are two important inputs, the vertical position and the height. The vertical position is how high the object will be off the board. So for instance, if I were to make this 6, this object will be floating in the air 6 inches off the bottom of the layout. Then you also need to add a height. If you just want to have like a shape in the 2D version, you don't have to put height. However, if you want to show up in the 3D generator, it needs a height. In inches, the smallest height that the program will show you, I believe, is 0.04 inches. I believe in millimeters, it's 1 millimeter. But you might have to double check that for yourself. So let's just give this a height of, let's say 2.5 inches. That'd be approximately right for a 2-story building in HO. And then we'll give it some color, make it light yellow. Click OK. OK. Then if we go to 3D, you can see that that cube there is floating in the air, 6 inches off the bottom of the board. So to change that, to get back to the Properties menu, all you have to do is left-click to select the object. You'll see it has a red border now, and it has these little red squares in the corners. Then right-click on the object and click on the Properties. And then now you can change that to 0. I go back to 3D, and now you can see that that object is sitting on the board. Okay. Now we could either just leave that object there. If you want, just like a, like say you're building like a downtown brick building, it doesn't have a slanted roof, you could do that. But if you want to make it look like a house, like we're doing here, you'll want to put a roof on it. To do that, you need to make sure that you have the figure selected. Then you click on the roof button here, and then now you have different options for different roofs that you can build. I'm just going to go with a simple slanted roof here. Then you click on 3D, and now you can see that I have a very basic, simple house. If all you're trying to do is figure out the dimensions of where buildings will sit on your layout, then this is really as much as you need to do. However, if you want to make them look really nice in 3D, or you want to build a more complex building, then you'll need to go a little bit further, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to now build a little bit more of a complex house. Before I go ahead and do that, though, I do want to show you how you can move the entire building that you've just created. Right now, if I were to just click on this, I'd only be clicking on the roof, and then if I were to try to move it by pressing down on the control key, then left-clicking and dragging, you'll see that only the roof is moving. Okay, the square or the cube underneath does not move with the roof. So if you want to move the entire building, what you'll need to do is you'll need to create this in all these objects and group them together. So I will select Control Z to go back to where the roof used to be. Now with the selection button clicked, all you have to do is left click, drag. Now it has selected everything, including that cube underneath. And then there's two ways to group objects. You can right click, and then you'll see down here it says group. You can click on that. So now Control, left mouse, and now see how everything is moving. Okay. Or you can also go up to the objects and click group there. Now let's say that you move this and you decide that, oh, I want to change the roof and I don't want to delete the entire object. Then what you do is click on it, because it's all still connected as one object, and then right click, and then you can go down here where it says ungroup, and then that will now ungroup it so that each part is individual again. Now I can click on the roof, delete that, and that only deletes the roof. And then I could put, you may have to make sure your square is selected, and then you can change it to, say I want that type of roof. Okay, so then I go to 3D, and you can see that that roof is slightly different. Okay, so now let's make a slightly more complex house. In this example, I'm going to try to build a version of this model power kit here. This is known as Grandma's House, if I remember right. It used to be a very popular kit. So this house, as you can see, is a little bit more complex. We have two basic parts of the building, one going like this, and then a part sticking out. We have two roofs, one going horizontally, one vertical, and then we also have this little dormer here. So I'm now going to show you how to draw something like this. So let's minimize that picture. So now I will click on the rectangle, and I'll drag, make the body. Going to make the height 2.5 inches for about 2 stories, and we'll make this yellow just like the one in the picture. So okay, and then now we want the extension part, so we will just click, do that. Also make that 2.5 inches. Oh, I want to make that yellow. Put back, make that yellow. Okay, and then Control left mouse button click, and then I'll set it in there. And I am overlapping here this way. The roofs intersect a little bit more, and I'll explain that in just a second. So now I'm going to zoom in so we can add some windows and a door to this building. To zoom in, it's really easy. Just roll the wheel button on your mouse, and you can zoom in, and it will zoom in on the area that your pointer is currently positioned. So now I want to build a door and a couple windows. So to do that, click on the rectangle again, and let's say I want to build a door right here, because I believe in the picture, yeah, there's a door right there. So let's put a door right here. So do that with the rectangle selected. I'm just going to click, left mouse button click, and drag. And then now I'm going to leave that at the vertical position of 0 so that it's touching the ground, since the door would go all the way to the floor. And then let's make that door 1 inch. And then we'll make it a dark blue color. Okay. And now if I go to 3D, you can see that there is now a door in the corner there on the house. Now let's say you want to build a couple windows. So let's build a window over on this side of the building here. Click rectangle, click drag, make it a little bit wider than the door. And then this time, for the vertical position, you're going to want it off the ground a little bit. So I'll make it a 1/4 inch. And then I'll make my window 3/4 of an inch, or 0.75 inches. And let's make this window black. Okay. And then if we go to 3D, and rotate around here, and then there you go. So I now have this window here. Now let's say I want to build a couple more windows. Let's say I want to put one over here, and then I want to put a window on the second floor right above this. That's really easy to do. All you have to do is click on this and then copy and paste it. You can either use the Windows shortcut keys of Control C to copy, Control V to paste, or once you've selected the object, you can right click, and you also have the cut, copy, and paste options in this pop-up menu here. I prefer the shortcut key, so I'm going, whoops, I just knocked over my microphone. Control C, Control V, and then now there is a second object. They are sitting right on top of each other, so it doesn't look like anything has changed. Even if you go to 3D view, you'll see that that window is still there. But now when I select it, Control, select, I can now move it over. I'll put it over on this side. Like that, there we go. And then if I go to 3D, you can now see I have 2 windows. And you'll also notice that they're both a 1/4 inch off the ground. It's because the height and the vertical position also copies over when you copy and paste an object. So let's close that out. Now let's say you want to put a window on the second floor. So I've already copied one window, so all I have to do is select Control V to paste. I'll now click on there, and this will click the top window. Right click, go to Properties, and now let's see, I'm assuming each floor is about 1.25 inches, and then I want my window to be 1/4 inch from the floor, so that would add up to 1.5 inches for the vertical position. Say OK. Go to 3D, and now you can see there's a window above the first window. Okay, and then I could either Control and copy this, and then adjust the height to put a window up there, or I could copy this window and then just drag it over. So that's how you build windows and doors on your building. Now let's go to constructing the roof. So you select the rectangle and then select your roof, and we got one there. And now I want to put a roof over here. Click on there. And then you'll notice that both of the roofs are parallel to each other, and they're both horizontal to the top of my screen. If you look at the house in the picture, though, the roofs come together at a perpendicular 90-degree angle. Now, one idea is that you could rotate the roof. And to rotate an object is really simple. You just select the object, then right-click, then click on this rotate function, and then you can just drag this little slide bar here, and I'll go to 90, so now I have it at a 90-degree angle. One thing I want to point out, though, is when it rotates based off of the object's initial position when you started the rotation. So to show you how that could be initial, let's say I made this a 45-degree angle, and you can also use these up and down arrow keys. This is based on clockwise, counterclockwise, so going up and down doesn't necessarily mean that you're going up and down in the degree. So for instance, I actually have to go up to go down, and you'll notice it's going in quarters of a degree. So put it at a 45. So now I say, okay, so now I'm going to set a 45. Well, I want to actually be perpendicular at a 90-degree angle. So then what I have to do is simply click, right-click, rotate. And if I were to try to make this 90 degrees, see how it goes 90 degrees from the 45-degree angle. So to fix it, I'll just go to 45 degrees, get there. Click OK, and now I have adjusted the roof to be at a 90-degree angle from this roof. So if we go to 3D, zoom out, and then rotate around, and I now have two perpendicular roofs. However, you'll notice that the roof doesn't match up with the rectangle or cube on the bottom here. See, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see that the roof is wants to zoom into that center point, but zoom out, we'll move the center point there. There we go. And you can see right there how the roof is no longer completely connected to the cube or square underneath it. So to fix that, and this took trial and error, so fix out of that, what you have to do is delete this roof. I'm going to delete this roof so we can see where things are at. And then I have to delete this square here. What I discovered is that when you place roofs on buildings, it's always going to place the roof based on the original horizontal dimension of the building. So what I mean by that is if you click rectangle, and instead of making my building tall like that, I'm going to make it long like that. And we'll give it the height of 2.5 inches. Make it yellow. Click OK. OK there. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this square. So click on that, rotate it. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Okay. Click. Control, click to move, put it there, and then now when I select the object and put the roof on, now it will go vertical. Okay, so that's because I rotated the object. So if you want to make the roof exact dimensions so it fits perfectly on top of the square or cube, and you want the roof to be at a different angle, you have to first create your object horizontally and then rotate it, then put the roof on. And then you can see I can click there, and now I go to 3D. I now have two roofs that are intersecting at a 90-degree angle. As you can see, when I rotate, you can see how there's part of the roof is sticking out a little bit. You can fix that really easily. All you have to do is, and you can actually click the X over here too. It'll close you out of 3D view. Just click on the roof, left click, then right click, and then go to properties, and you can adjust the height of the roof. So let's make it just 1 inch. It's a little bit lower than the main roof on the house, which if you look at the picture, that's the same way it is here in the model. And then if I go to 3D, now you can see the roof's lower, and it almost, actually looks like it completely intersects. So there you go, so that's good. If you didn't want to make the roof any lower, you could also slide this cube into the building a little bit more, and then build a new roof, and then the roof will be farther in, and then you'll have a better intersection point there. So that's how you would do that if you want. Now if you want to build a little dormer, so we'll exit out of there, I'll delete the bigger roof, and let's put a little dormer on here. So select rectangle. In this case, the dormer is going to take up the whole height of the roof sitting on top of my object, or the square there. So I'm not going to give this square any height, but I am going to give it a vertical position so it is sitting on top of this square or cube here. Say OK, and then I'm going to select it, click on the roof, put one there, then I'll select the larger square or rectangle, click on roof, select that, go to 3D, and it's not there. It's because we need to actually put a little bit of height in here, so I guess I was mistaken. You do have to put a little bit of height on this. Oh, no, you don't have to put height on here, you have to put height on the roof. That's right. So click on here, put the roof on. If you click on the roof, because I put it on a building that has no height to it, the roof itself has no height. So all you have to do is, let's give it 1¼ inches or 1.2 inches. Enter. Now I'll put this roof on here. And then if I go to 3D, now you can see I have the dormer right there. And it's going to go with the color of the original square, so you want to go back and make that yellow. So delete that. Delete that. Click on here. Properties. Make that yellow. Okay. Okay. Put the roof on there. Adjust. Oops, I didn't have it selected. Adjust the height of the roof. And click there. And now if I go to 3D, now it's yellow. Okay, so that's how you can design a simple house. Putting the windows and the doors on can be a little bit tedious, but it's a free program, so I'm willing to deal with that to design and make some neat looking buildings. Looks like I might want to adjust the size of that square there. You can see the roof sticking out a little bit, so you can adjust different things to get all your dimensions down properly. And then if you want to move the building, we go back to the grouping function. So make sure you have the selector button clicked, then drag. Now I've selected all the objects here. Right click, group, and then now I'm going to press down Control click. Now I can move everything, and I can also rotate everything as one object. So let's say I want to rotate it at a slight angle, like that, and then go to 3D, and now you can see everything has rotated on the house. So that's pretty much everything you need to know to make basic buildings. In the second part of this tutorial, I will show you how to construct a water tower and how to construct a small depot.